Good morning, students.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am.
Yes. Are you all able to see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So last class, I think, yes, yes. Last class, we were discussing more on lab session because it was a lab session. So, though I gave you an overview of what we'll be learning in terms of theory as well as lab, as far as DBMS is concerned. So today's class will be a theory class again, as I told you all already. So we'll be starting off. I just want to share with you all the syllabus that we are going to cover through this entire course of DBMS. So though I've already done it in the last class, that was basically a lab session. So today we are beginning our theory sessions. So that's the reason I just want to share with you all the syllabus once again and give you an overview of what we'll be learning. Okay, so the module 1 is basically an introduction to database, and so we'll be touching upon characteristics of database approach, actors on the scene, workers behind the scene, advantages of using DBMS approach, and what are the database applications. And then we'll move on to the different data models, schema, what is a schema, what are instances, the three schema architecture, database language and interface, the system environment, and then the differentiation between the centralized and client server architecture. And then finally, the classification of DBMS as to what are the different types of DBMS we have. So these are the things that we'll be learning upon. So we'll get into the syllabus quickly, very immediately now. So we'll be starting with the module 1. Is there anybody who wants to join? Okay, so let me share my screen. One second. Just give me a second. I'm just trying to share the screen. It's so slow. Are you all able to see my screen? Can anybody confirm to me, please?
No, ma'am.
No.
No.
Yes, ma'am. We are seeing now.
Array, what's happening?
It's gone again.
One second, one second. How about now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Yeah. So we'll be beginning with the first module, as I said, right? So since all of you have studied this, let's have some kind of interaction. Yeah. Now, before we go into the characteristics of the database, that's where our syllabus starts. Let's take a quick look into how can we define a database. Any answers? How can we define a database?
Organized collection of data.
Collection of data. Okay. Any other answers, please?
Rows and columns.
Rows and columns. Okay. Any other answer? Come on, I'm only asking you all to define a database. That's all. What is a database? All of you should be.
Collection of related tables.
Collection of related tables. Okay.
Which has attributes and tuples.
Which has attributes and tuples. Fine. All right.
Storing and
Structured set
retrieving
of
data.
data.
Okay.
Structured set of data held in a computer.
Structured set of data held. Okay. Good. Anyway, I'm getting a couple of answers. That's really nice. So what we can say about a database is a database can be told or defined as a collection of what we say collection of related data. That is what I meant. Okay. So when we say related data, what do we mean by data in this case?
Raw facts.
When I say, yes, very good. When I say data, they are nothing but facts which can be recorded and which has some kind of meaning. Okay, that is what we say about data. So this collection of related data with an implicit meaning is what we call it as a database. Now, a database should always have some kind of properties. There should be some property. Any jumble of words on a sheet of paper, I cannot call it as a database. All right. It should have some properties. Means the first thing is it should be associated or it should be representing some aspect of the real world. So that means when I say I'm trying to build a student database, so obviously I should have all the information that is related to student only. So I cannot say I'm building a student database and then have some attribute called as movie name, release of year of release, all these things. I cannot have something irrelevant. Okay, it should always represent some aspect of the real world. That's one important property that a database should always have. When I say collection of related data, I cannot say, okay, I have a page of one page which has got all jumbled up words. I cannot call that as database. It is not a database. It should have certain properties. What is the first property? It should always represent some kind of some aspect of real world should be represented. And the second property, as I already told, it should have some kind of inherent meaning. There should be some meaning in what you are trying to, when you build a database. As I told, when you say it's a student database, you should have all information related to student only. You cannot have something related to movie, something related to an employee. You cannot have something which is irrelevant. There should be some meaning in what you are trying to define. And a database is always designed, it is built, it is populated with data for some specific purpose. If you're building designing a database, it is done for some particular purpose which is used by some particular users. Okay, and it will have its own applications wherein you are going to use that particular database. So this is what we try to call or define a database. Again, a database can be of any size and it can be of any complexity. That means you can have a very simple database, you can have a very complex database. For example, let us say I have a database of list of names and addresses. Okay, that is a simple database. It's a very simple structure, maybe a few hundreds of records maybe. That's a very simple one. On the other hand, you can have a catalog of what to say, a huge library. Then that becomes a very complicated database. So a database can be of any size. It can be of any complexity. And a database can be either maintained, generated and maintained manually, or I can even computerize it. It is again depends on how big is your database, how small is your database, how simple it is, how complex it is. So it can be done. For example, if I have a library catalog, it's a database for me. So I may create and maintain it manually. It is possible for me to do. Okay. Whereas if you have a huge one, as we said, we have an Amazon database, so that's a big one. It's a very complicated one. So then in that case, you may have to computerize it. Now, having said this much about what is database and what are the properties that a database can have, let us go ahead to define what is a database management system. We have seen what is a database, and all of you said it is a collection of related data. That's fine, which is having some meaning, and it should be related to our, should represent some aspect of real world. It should have some inherent meaning we saw. It should have some purpose. It should have some users. It should have some applications which are going to make use of that database. It can be of any size, any complexity. It can be maintained manually. It can be done computerized. All this we saw. Can anyone tell me now what is a DBMS then? What is a database management system then? Is it same? Is it different?
A collection of programs that is used to create and maintain database.
Okay. Any other answer?
Software for storing and retrieving data.
Software for storing and retrieving data, fine. Any other answer? What is a DBMS? Okay. To put it in simple words, when I say DBMS, it is basically a software, or even I can say it is actually a collection of programs. Now, why do you use this, or why do we need a DBMS, or why do we need a collection of programs? It is basically to create, and then you have to maintain a database. So this is why we make use of or we require rather a DBMS. Okay. So when I say DBMS, it is a general purpose software system. It is always, as I said, it's a collection of programs. I said you can also put it as a software. What will it help you in? Why do you need a DBMS? I said it is a software. It's a collection of programs. I said it is used for creating and maintaining a database. Okay. To go into the details of this, when I say it is a software system, how does this DBMS help you? In what are the different ways in which it can help you? It can help you, DBMS can help us in important aspects of, you will be able to define a database. You will be able to constructing a database. You should also be able to manipulate a database. You should also be able to share a database. All these processes deal with respect to a database, your DBMS will allow you to do. So DBMS, as I said, it will help you to facilitate the process of defining. You can define a database, you can construct a database, you can manipulate a database, you can also share a database. What does these four terms mean to us? When I say we define a database, then I said we can construct a database, we can manipulate a database, we can share a database. What does these terms mean to us? What do we mean when I say we can define a database? For all these activities, for all these processes, we require a DBMS. That is where your DBMS comes into picture. DBMS is a collection of programs, you can say, or you can say it is a software which is basically used to create and maintain the database. That's a more simple way of putting it. Getting more into the details of why a DBMS is required, you require it for defining, constructing, manipulating, and sharing. Now I will take you to what each of these terms mean. What do you mean by define? When I say defining a database, When I say defining a database means what? When I say defining a database, it involves you try to specify what are the data types that are being used in that database, what structures you are going to use, what are the constraints that you are going to use. Well, constraints means what restrictions are there, what limitations are there for the data that we are going to store. We are going to specify all this. That means we specify what is the data type of the data. We specify what structure we are going to use for the data. We'll also specify what constraints should be applicable for that particular data. These are all nothing but when you specify all this, we say that we are defining the database. Simple example. In the last lab session, we had taken an example of employee table, correct? So there what we did, we defined the data types like employee, date of birth, we said, date of joining we had taken age as an age as a variable for which we gave the data type as number. Then we took employee ID, gave the data type as varchar2. We took salary as an attribute. We gave number as the data type. So those are all nothing but the data type that we had defined for those particular variables. Similarly, constraints. When I say constraint, primary key is a constraint. Why primary key is a constraint? Because one of the field we said should be unique. Employee ID should be unique, I said, which means it is a constraint. That's a restriction on that particular variable. It is a, you can take it as a restriction or a limitation. Why it is limitation? Because it has to be unique. You cannot give 001 for 2 employees. You cannot leave it null. That means you have to enter some data for the employee ID. So that is nothing but you are trying to define a constraint. When I say employee ID has to be given as a primary key, that means I'm putting a constraint on that. I'm putting a restriction on that particular variable. That is what we mean by defining a database. So I said database or DBMS is used for defining, constructing, manipulating, and sharing. Now we have seen what is defining a database. Any questions so far? Any doubts? Anybody?
No, ma'am.
Any questions? Any doubts so far? So we have defined so far. We have defined what is a database. We have gone into what is a DBMS. We are trying to see where this DBMS can help us, right? Okay. So let's continue. Next, I said we saw what do we mean by defining a database. Now let's move on to what do we mean by constructing a database. Once you define, you have to construct it. Constructing means what? Constructing the database is nothing but the process of storing the data. You have to store the data somewhere. It is not, you have to store the data on some storage medium. That is again controlled by the DBMS. That is what we mean by we are trying to use a Oracle database, and there is some engine in that. You are trying to make some space to store the data, whatever you are trying to create. That is nothing but you're constructing. The next thing that I told you is manipulating the database. Manipulating the database means what? It is going to include some functions such as you try to query the database. You are trying to query. Query the database means what? Okay, one second. You try to query the database. You try to update the database. These are all nothing but manipulating the database. How do you manipulate the database? By using the DBMS again. Yes, somebody said something.
Altering, ma'am.
Very good. Yes, you can manipulate. You can alter. Now, when I say querying the database, updating the database, somebody said you can alterate it. You can also generate some reports. These are all nothing but manipulating the database. In order to do all this, you again require a software, which is nothing but your DBMS. Okay, I have a question for you. How do you differentiate between, I said query, and how do you differentiate between these two? What do you mean by a query and what do you mean by a transaction? Anyone? What is the difference? Come on, let me have some answers. What is the difference between query and a transaction? Nobody knows?
Now, a query is a single statement and transaction could be multiple statements.
Okay. Anyone else? You're not actually right. Rupert. Anyone else? What is the difference between query and a transaction? See, when we talk.
Transaction means
Yes.
the entire.
Yes, yes.
Transaction means the entire thing. Query means only it will select some of the parts in the data.
Entire.
Related to some condition, it will select something.
No. Not you're not right. Maybe partly you're near to the answer, but not right. Okay. When I say query, we try to retrieve whatever data is there in the database. That is what you call it as query. You are trying to retrieve. That means you want to pull out some information from the database which is already created and you have stored it and you want to take out some data. For example, I want to know who are all the students whose date of birth is in the month of May. Let us say that is a query. I want to. That's my query. That means I want to find out answer for that. What is going to happen? I give that particular query where the date of birth month is May. So I get the list of all the students who are born in the month of May. Now, what are we doing exactly? We are only retrieving the answers from the database. But when I say transaction will allow you to update the database. You can make some changes. Some changes will happen in the database values that you have stored. That is what you call it as a transaction. So when I say I want to retrieve the people, the students who are born in the month of May, it will show me, let us say, 5 students. Does the database get changed in any which ways? No, there will be no changes in the database. But transaction, when I say I want to withdraw 100 rupees from my account, what happens? There are some changes happening in the database, is it not? Your account will get debited by 100 rupees. Yes, that is nothing but a transaction. So you will have to really know the difference between, when I say query, we are just pulling out the data, that's all. We are not making any changes to the database that is existing. But when I say transaction, you are able to modify, you are able to make some changes in the database, changes to the data that is stored in the database. That's very important difference that you should all know. All right. So that's about manipulation. Next is DBMS will also help you in sharing a database. So when we build a database, when you design a database, you are going to definitely have multiple users who will be accessing the database simultaneously. Okay. So that is what is sharing. It is not generally designed or generally it is not constructed for just one user. You may have multiple users who are accessing the database at the same time. So that concept of sharing should be supported again by DBMS. And transaction, when I say transaction, you will be able to read, you will also be able to write. That's what we meant. When I say updation, we can make some changes. That's what I said. You can be able to write also. Whereas when I say query, you can only read what is there in the database. All right. So DBMS, let me summarize. What is DBMS? It's a collection of programs, or you can call it as a software, which is going to help you to define a database, construct a database, manipulate a database, and also share the database, right? So that's about what is called as DBMS. So this small introduction is important before we proceed into the other aspects of DBMS. Okay, one more important thing is DBMS will also help you in protection. Yes, one more difference I want to know from you all. What do you mean by protection and what do you mean by security? Are both same? Can I have some answers?
No, ma'am.
No,
Yeah,
ma'am.
no, they are different. Okay, good. What's the difference? Come on. What is the difference between protection and security?
Protects against the unauthorized or access.
Okay. Security? You're not right actually, Shivani. All right. Protection means it includes a system protection against hardware and software malfunction. Any crash that is going to happen, you have to protect it against that. That is what you call it as protection. Okay. So protection is against, it could be a hardware malfunctioning, it could be a software malfunction, some kind of crashes. These are all nothing but protecting system protection. When we talk about security, security is always against unauthorized or malicious access. That means that's why we have every user is an authorized user. Every user is given a username, every user is given a password to access it. That is your security. You told the other way around, Shivani. Right? Anyway. So that's the difference between protection and security, and DBMS should be able to provide both. All right, that's also right. Hemalata is also right. You can take it that way as well. Security is always against unauthorized access. Understand that. All right. Any doubts so far? That's a brief introduction on what is database and what is DBMS. Now we will move on to the different aspects of our syllabus, what it starts with, the characteristics of DBMS and so on. Any doubts? Okay. Next, we go on to characteristics of the database approach.
Ma'am,
Yes?
ma'am, is it possible to do query and transaction at the same time, ma'am?
No, any transaction which is going to update your database, you call it as a transaction, which can be again in terms of a query only. That is also right. That means, see, if I'll give you a simple example. You go to an ATM. What do you do there? You try to withdraw some money. Is it not? That you are not writing a query, are you? No. But what is happening there? You have the transaction already programmed. You call such transactions as canned transactions. Canned transactions means they are already predefined queries which are stored in the system. So when you try to execute this, how do you execute this? You put the amount that you want to withdraw. These are the fillers that the query wants in order to execute the transaction. So that is a transaction that is getting executed. But in terms of, again, in general aspects, we say whatever you try to retrieve, you call it as a query. But transaction and query, there is deeper meaning is there, difference is there. Did I answer your question?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Okay, now let us move on to what are the characteristics of the database approach. There are 4 main characteristics. The first one is self-describing nature of a database system. Right? Then The second one we have insulation between the programs and data, and which you call it as basically the data abstraction. The third characteristic is support of multiple views. That's again a very important characteristic. Support of multiple views of the data. Then we have sharing of data and multi-user transaction processing. I'll come to what is exactly a multi-user transaction. Okay. Now these are the 4 important characteristics of database privilege. Now, when I say a self-describing nature of the database, there is something called as, in the database catalog, you will have what is called as a metadata file. Any idea what is metadata?
Data about data.
About data.
Exactly. So when I say self-describing nature of a database, all the information about the database will always be stored inside the metadata. So when you look into the metadata, you will get to know what is the database all about. It contains not only the database, but also a complete definition, or you can call it as a description of the database structure and constraints. What are the constraints that are there? What is the description of that? What is the schema? How the schema is defined? All the information is going to be available in the metadata. Now, this definition or this data is stored in the DBMS catalog, okay, which contains all this information such as the structure of each file, what is the type and storage format of each data item, what are the various constraints on the data. All this information is stored in the catalog. That catalog, which we call it as metadata. Okay. So when we talk about the file approach, there is always a difference between what is the difference between a database approach and a file approach. When I say database approach, you are trying to build a common repository which will be accessed by many of the users. For example, in the college, let us say, we want information about, we are trying to build a database about the second semester MCA students. Okay, now this second semester MCA student, what are the information that will be available when you want to build? You will have USN, correct? And then you will have the name. Then what is your degree or what graduation you have done, and when did you join? How did you join? Which quota you came in through? So all this is a basic information of any second semester MCA student. Now, when I build a file and I try to create a DBM database, there is a lot of difference between these two. Now, when I say I am building a file, this information of second semester MCA students will be required by the HOD of MCA, let us say, the faculty members of MCA, let us say, the librarian of the college, the accounts officer of the college, principal of the college. So all of them will require this information for some or the other purpose. So a librarian may require your data for different purpose. A HOD may require a data for a different purpose. Me as a faculty may require your data for a different purpose. But when we go for a file approach, what will happen? I'll have my own file, correct? And whatever changes I want, I can make in the file. Nobody can view that and nobody can use it. Librarian will have his own file. HOD will have their own file. Principal will have his own copy. So what will happen there? There is going to be a lot of so many copies of the same file, but each one of them is different. Okay, that's a redundancy. Suppose there is some change in the USN, let us say, and I make that change, whereas a librarian will not make that change. So what happens? There is some kind of a mismatch in the data. So in order to avoid these kind of all this kind of things, we go for, when I do a database approach, when I go for a database approach means I try to design a database for you. Then what will happen? Database is called as it's actually a common repository. One place I will try to create all this data about you, and that should be accessible by everyone. So when there is a change in the USL, I change it at one place, and that should be viewed by everybody in the same way. Everybody need not go on making that particular change. So that's a basic difference between, you say, a database approach and a file approach. There you can avoid multiple copies or redundancy. Right? Any questions? What is this, Sushmita? You? Okay, any questions on this? No. Next characteristic we are trying to see is what is meant by insulation between the program and the data, or you call it as data abstraction. Anyone? What is data abstraction? Now, whenever you go for a file processing system or you go for a file approach, what will happen? 1 second, I will just change the page. Okay. So data abstraction, or when you go for a file approach, or you are, let us say, doing a file processing. So in that case, what will happen? Whatever files you are using, that structure of that file will be embedded in your application program. So if I try to change my structure, if I want to change the structure, then the entire program will also get changed. But when you go for a DBMS approach or a database approach, that programs do not require any such changes in most of the cases. Then what do I mean by all this is, for example, in the last class we saw employee table. Okay, I finished creating the employee database, and finally I added what is called as a salary column. If you remember, we added this in the end, towards the end. Now, just because I added this, if I had used a file approach, I had to change the entire program, had to be changed, because I have to include a new attribute. Whereas when I go for a database approach, such changes are not required here. Okay, so that is what you call it as. How do you create it, or how do you implement it? How it has been implemented is actually sealed from the users. What the users are provided is only the services. When I go for a database approach, these are all the possible operations that the user can do. These are all the possible services that we provide to the users. But how the services are implemented, that is hidden. That is what you call it as a data abstraction. Right? I think in most of these object-oriented concepts, you all would have learned what is data abstraction and all that stuff. Any questions? Anyone? Okay. The next one is support of multiple views. That's again a very important characteristic of any database. Can anyone give me an example or tell me something about this? Anyone?
Multiple views means this database can be accessed by from user point of view, then administrator point of view.
Very good, very good, very good. Anybody else? Let me have different students answering. I don't want the same set of students to keep answering me, though, of course, I want to give chance to everyone. Voice is breaking. Who's mine or yours? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, good.
Yes, ma'am, but voice is breaking.
Oh, okay. Well, my connection looks pretty okay to here. Anyway, if you have further
Now
problems,
it's good, ma'am.
yeah. Thanks. So support of multiple views of the data. What do we mean by this? Now, when I say support of a database, will always have many users. As I told you earlier, they'll have many users. Each user will have a different perspective or view of the database. Each user will have a different perspective. So when I say view, different view or multi-user DBMS, when I say where users will have a variety of distinct applications. For example, I take the same database of a student database that we have gone in for. Okay, I told you that the student database will have different people. I as a faculty will is also an user. HOD is also a user. Librarian, for example, is also an user. I said even accounts officer is also an user. Principal is also an user. Okay, there are so many. Exam section is also an user. So many people are there who are going to use this second sem MCA data. Now, do you think all of these users will want the same kind of information from the database? No. Me as a faculty, when I have this information, I am only interested with respect to your details with respect to, let us say, DBMS marks entry or DBMS attendance or DBMS how much you have scored, what is your, whether you have submitted assignment or not. I am so much, confined only to this part. That is as a faculty. That means as a faculty, I should be able to view what are the internal marks that you as a student have scored in all the 3 internals, how much you scored in assignment, what is going to be what is your attendance in my subject, what is your attendance in my lab, how much of the IA marks that you have scored. This much with respect to DBMS I am interested. So that I am one user of this kind of a database whose perspective is different. Okay, then I as a HOD will try to use this particular database. As a HOD, I'm not, I cannot be interested only in DBMS, but I'll be interested to know the overall performance of the student. So overall performance means in all 5 subjects plus the lab, how is this particular student scoring? What is the attendance percentage overall of this particular student? How much marks he is able to on an average score in all the subjects? So like that, I want a bigger perspective of the student, not just DBMS, but I'm interested in all the students, but all the subjects, the entire performance. That's a different view. A HOD will have a different view, a faculty will have. Coming to librarian. So this particular student with this USN, how many books he has taken, how many books he has returned, did he return or not, did he pay the fine or not, within the deadline, within the stipulated date, did he give back the books? That is the kind of data a librarian would like to see from this database. Account section, have you paid the fees or not, how much fees is pending, when are you supposed to pay, whether you are supposed to pay the fine or not. These are the things account person, his perspective is different. But for everybody, what is the common information? Your name, your USN, which semester you belong to MCA branch. This is very important. But when I look into the different applications, I have to provide as a DBMS, this DBMS has to provide multiple views of the data. Similarly, when I say principal will not be interested in every single student. He will not dig into USN, okay, 20 MCA 002, what that student is doing. He is not interested in that. What he would like to see, second semester as a whole, how they are doing. Fourth semester as a whole, how they are doing. That kind of a perspective is required for a principal. So this is what we say. There will be definitely multiple users for any database that is designed and constructed. So when there are multiple users, each user will have their own perspective, their own views in order to view the data. And one important characteristic of DBMS approach or database approach is to provide multiple views for these multi-users. Clear to you all? The next one is the last characteristic is sharing of data. Of course, I said Database is always has to be, it is not built for just one user, it is built always for multiple users. Sharing of data and multi-user transaction processing. So a multi-user DBMS will always allow multiple users to access the database at the same time. That is very important. Now, any database or any DBMS should have what is called as concurrency control software. Why is this required? Anyone? Okay, when we say concurrency control, suppose I'm trying to make some reservation. We all open this IRCTC. Of course, now we are not opening, I know. But we are all, we keep very frequently using this website in order to do some reservation. Let us say I sit here and reserve some ticket from Bangalore to Delhi. At the same time, somebody else also can try to book the same, with same source and destination, Bangalore to Delhi. Somebody else also can create. Like that, there can be multiple users or several users trying to update. That means what is happening? You are doing some kind of transaction. Why transaction? Because the number of seats available as you book will go on decreasing. That means you are making some changes in the database. There are some changes. There are going to be some updations in the database. Okay. That means several users are trying to update the same data at the same time. And again, it should all result in the correct update. Yes or no? Just because two people are doing simultaneously reserving tickets, are we getting some wrong information? No, we are getting the right one. All this is possible because of our concurrency control software, which takes care of it in the DBMS. So multi-user transaction processing, this is what we call. And all your DBMS should follow something called as, all transactions should follow what is called as ACID property. Any idea what is an ACID property? Anyone? What do we mean by ACID property? Any idea? Nobody knows? Okay. ACID stands for, A stands for atomicity. Atomicity. C stands for concurrency. I stands for isolation. And D, I think, stands for
Durability, ma'am.
yes.
Durability, ma'am.
Okay. Now, any DBMS should, any transaction basically should follow the ACID, we call it as ACID properties. Atomicity means anything which is indivisible. Either you do the whole transaction in one shot or don't do anything. That is what you call it as atomicity. Anyway, I will be going into these ACID properties in the last unit when we deal with transaction in more detail. But still, when we talk of multi-user transaction processing, DBMS should, any transaction should be following this ACID properties. So atomicity means, suppose I debit, then it should be credited also to some account. Some one account, if I debit and I leave it at that, that is not right. That is wrong. So if you are not able to credit due to some reason, you should also reverse the debit. So that is why either do all or don't do anything. That is called as atomicity. Do all the transactions in one shot, or you don't do any of them. That is atomicity. You cannot leave the system to hang around in between. That is wrong. Concurrency, as I told, multiple users will do the same transactions, will be done by multiple users simultaneously, but still you should be able to take care of it. You means DBMS should be able to take care of it. That is nothing but your concurrency. Isolation property ensures that each transaction appears to execute in isolation. That means when I am trying to do, I am not aware of the fact that 100 people else are also doing the same thing. I get an impression that only I am doing this particular transaction. That is called as, atomicity. Isolation. Durability means if there is any crash, the system should be able to recover itself and come back. That is called as durable. How durable it is, how can it stand or how can it withstand all the crashes or any kind of adversities that are happening. That is what is durable. So any transaction should be satisfying this asset properties, especially when you go for multi-user transaction system or the database is being shared by multiple users. Asset properties plays a very important role. Okay, so that's about what exactly is the characteristics of the database approach. The next class we will be learning very, very important thing, that is what who are the actors on the scene and workers behind the scene. Workers behind the scene as far as DBMS is, the database is concerned. That's again a very important topic, which probably I'll take it up in the Monday's class. Any doubts, anyone so far?
Mami, can we go through once again asset properties?
Yeah, asset properties. I said any transaction should always have these asset properties. Asset property means what? Atomicity. A means atomicity. Atomicity means what? Either you do all the transactions in one shot or you don't do any of them. That means, suppose I want to debit an account. So when I debit 100 rupees from your account, it should get credited to some other account. Is it not? I cannot debit and leave it at that. If I debit one account and I don't credit any account, that is wrong transaction. Suppose in between, after I debit, the system has crashed. I am not able to credit. Then what will happen? The transaction has failed. Correct? So you should undo the debit. So either I don't do debit and credit, both I don't do, or I do both. I cannot do one and leave the other. That is what is called as atomicity. Either do everything or don't do anything. Right? Then concurrency, as I told you, I took an example of IRCTC, wherein there will be multiple users who are trying to use the IRCTC website at the same time. You and I could be sitting miles away and still booking the same journey ticket from the same place Bangalore to the same place Delhi. We may be doing it, but are we getting any mistakes? Are we getting anything? Is the database showing anything wrong? Not at all. You get your ticket, I get my ticket, though we have done it simultaneously. That is because DBMS supports a software called as a concurrency control software. And we don't get any errors at all. We get the transaction, the database is getting updated. 2 tickets are number of seats available, two seats are deducted in that, in the total number available. 1 for you, 1 for me, right? But we don't get any mistakes as such. Things are going on fine properly, though we are simultaneously trying to book it. Isolation. Isolation means what? I am sitting and booking here. I get a feeling that I am the only one who is booking from Delhi to Bangalore or Bangalore to Delhi, and I get a ticket and I am happy with it. I am not aware of the fact that you are also sitting and doing the same thing. At the same time, you also get a feeling that you are isolated in this transaction. You don't have a feeling that 100 people are sitting along with me and doing this. Do we get that feeling? No. That is nothing but your isolation. Durability, if the system crashes. Obviously, any website will crash, any database will crash at some point of time. So how fast is that you are able to come back? Is the database able to bounce back and do its operation? It is up and running once again. That is what is durability. Clear to you all? Danakaraj. Danakaraj, did you get me? Okay. So the next class I will be learning on, we'll be learning on actors on the scene, workers behind the scene, and we'll move forward from there. So don't miss your classes. That's very important, because DBMS, going further, we'll be learning how to do an entity diagram, ER diagram, all this, what is an entity, what is an attribute, what different types of attributes are there. Without learning these things, a lab will become very difficult for you. So please don't miss your classes. Any doubts you have, please stop and ask me then and there. Okay? Can I answer your attendance? Anaga?
Yes, ma'am.
And please don't, all of you, don't attend for the sake of attendance. Don't do that. Please learn something. Yes. Abhilash?
Yes, ma'am.
Akil?
Yes, ma'am.
Akrut?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Anusha?
Yes, ma'am.
Arvind?
Present, ma'am.
Arifullah?
Yes, ma'am.
Ganakraj?
Present, ma'am.
Banu Prakash?
Yes, ma'am.
Bhargav?
Yes, ma'am.
Rahmatullah?
Present, ma'am.
Chaitra?
Present, ma'am.
Chandana?
Present, ma'am.
Charan? Charan? Darshan?
Present, ma'am.
Diksha? Dakshayani?
Present, ma'am.
Kishan?
Present, ma'am.
Harshit? Hemalata?
Present, ma'am.
Uma?
Present, ma'am.
Jayant?
Present, ma'am.
Divya? Kaushik? Lakshmi? Raman?
Present, ma'am.
Present, ma'am.
Manish?
Present, ma'am.
Manoj?
Present, ma'am.
Mohit?
Yes, ma'am.
Naval?
Present, ma'am.
Navya?
Present, ma'am.
Nikhil?
Present, ma'am.
Anindra?
Present, ma'am.
Pavan?
Yes, ma'am.
Pooja?
Present, ma'am.
Purnima?
Yes, ma'am.
Raman?
Yes, ma'am.
Rashmi?
Yes, ma'am.
Rupak?
Yes, ma'am.
Sai Kumar?
Yes, ma'am.
Samir? Samir?
Hello.
Santosh?
Present, ma'am.
Santosh? Chadar?
Present, ma'am.
Sharon?
Yes, ma'am.
Sasha?
Yes, ma'am.
Cheetal?
Present, ma'am.
Shivani?
Present, ma'am.
Soumya? Spurti?
Present, ma'am.
Vishnu?
Present, ma'am.
Sugandhini?
Present, ma'am.
Ushma? Sushmita? BS? Sushmita, you?
Present, ma'am.
Tirtha?
Present, ma'am.
Tripti?
Present, ma'am.
Varsha? Veena?
Present, ma'am.
Veena?
Ma'am, Benaka, present, ma'am.
Ganaka is present, Kaushik present, Divya present, Soumya present, Harshit present, Lakshmi present. Right? Okay.
And Samir is also
Yeah,
present.
Samir, I marked you present. Santosh is
Thank
not
you.
coming. If someone can get in touch with him, can please ask him to call me, please. All right. Thank you, students. We'll see you on Monday. Have a great weekend. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.